Chapter 15. We left Irvine Spectrum and headed towards Balboa Beach. There was a great spot near some rocks that I had always wanted to bring someone special, and Maya was as special as it gets. I parked my Mustang on a side street. I opened Maya's door and held her hand as we walked up to the beach area. Oh, Maya said. You're not taking me to your prime makeout spot, are you? Actually, I said as I continued to walk, I have never been up here with another person. We approached the sand and we both took off our shoes. We walked out towards the water and stopped just short of the tide. We both looked out into the spectacular ocean. I dropped my shoes on the sand and I put my arms around Maya. You really have never been at this spot with anyone before? She asked. This is the first time. I promise. I was telling the truth. How did you come across such a beautiful spot? One night when I was 16, I decided to drive down to Peacochin Park and do some jogging by the water. I ran for what seemed like days and I ended up here. I sat right here and stared off into the deep ocean. The moon was directly over the water, much like tonight. I just sat here and had a moment of solitude, a moment of tranquility, and I've been coming back 2 to 3 times a year ever since. Your special spot. I am honored you shared this with me on our first date. Don't feel honored, I said. Someone that sees the world the way you do deserves to know about places like this that are just around the corner. I held Maya close. I could feel her heart beat up against me. She felt so natural in my arms. I was so the unromantic, but on this night you would have thought I was Casanova himself. I love how the moon sends a strip of light across the ocean, Maya said. It's amazing that just a half moon could give off so much glare. A half moon? Oh shit. In 2 weeks it will be a full moon again and all that weird shit will start happening. Maya, there's something I need to tell you. Maya looked up at me and winced. Oh great, here it comes. Here what comes? The you have a girlfriend speech, or this is a little too much too fast speech. I love how quickly things are going, but that isn't what I wanted to tell you. And no, I don't have a girlfriend either. I paused and began to rethink what I was about to say. I had no idea how to say what I wanted to tell her without sounding like a complete idiot, or worse yet, someone who is disillusioned. Okay, what is it, Tommy? I took a moment. I let go of her and sat on the sand. Maya wiped herself off and sat next to me. This was going to be hard to share with her, and I sighed heavily. Maya, there's something about who I am that cannot really be defined, and I can't tell you exactly what it is because I am not even sure what it is myself. Are you sick? Maya asked, extremely concerned. No, it's nothing like that. I have never been healthier. Okay, then what is it? Look, just know that. I stopped myself from speaking and stared at the moon. Look, Tommy, I don't need to know everything right now. I like you and I want to learn more about you. I like you too, Maya. That's why I think you should know. Well, you're obviously not ready to tell me, and I'm okay with that. Let's just allow things to continue to happen according to the fate of the triad. Huh. I nearly fell to the floor. What? She asked, clueless. You said fate of the triad. It's just a saying my grandfather used to say to me when I was younger. The fate of the triad? He used those exact words. Yeah, I asked him what it meant when I was younger, and he told me it was the force that allows love to exist in each of us. Maya smiled at me, not knowing how enormous her words were to me. Holy shit, her grandfather knew about this world. I needed to know more about her grandfather. Is he still alive? No. He actually had something awful happen to him. What happened? Well, they never really found his body. All they found was his things. He was one of those older guys that were 70 but looked 40. He was athletic and loved the outdoors, and one weekend he went camping by himself and never returned. They found his things torn up and shredded by a campfire. We could only imagine what kind of wild animal got to him. Wow, that's insane. I'm sorry to hear that. How old were you when this happened? It was about 8 years ago. Maya's eyes began to water, so I pulled her close to me. It's okay, I said, wiping the tears from her eyes. I shouldn't have asked more. No, it's okay. I'm glad I told you about my grandfather. We continued to stare at the ocean together until the tide reached our feet. We decided to head back to the car. I walked with my arm around Maya to keep her warm, and I just took the whole night in. There were a couple of amazing things I found out tonight. 1. I have definitely fallen for this girl. And 2. Her grandfather definitely was, and or is, a vampire or a werewolf. Chapter 16. I got Maya home at 15 minutes before 1. I was pretty pleased with myself getting her home by the time her father asked. I walked her up to the door and then we stopped in front of it. I had an amazing time tonight, Tommy, Maya said, grabbing my hands. So did I, Maya. You're going to call me, right? I looked down at this confident young lady and she was showing me a bit of vulnerability that I'm sure most girls feel after a first date. I wrapped my arms around her and pulled her close. We don't need to ever talk like that. Games are out the door when it comes to us. Maya pulled back. Are they? They never started. Maya looked deep into my eyes. I believe you. I leaned in and kissed her softly on her lips and again on her cheek. You're a great guy, Tommy. And you're an amazing girl, Maya. I winked at her and trotted off to my car. She waved me off and went inside. I looked up at the moon and said out loud, I'm in deep. When I got back to my apartment, Patrick and Sasha were up playing a game of Clue at the kitchen table. Seriously, I said as I entered my apartment, a vampire and a werewolf are trying to figure out if Colonel Mustard killed someone in the conservatory with the candlestick. Hey, don't give it away, Tommy. I'm crushing Patrick. This is the first time he has ever played. Sasha rolled her dice and moved her red piece into the kitchen. I figured the vixen would choose Scarlet. So how did your date go, player? Patrick asked. Date? I didn't write on the note I was going on a date. You didn't have to, Sasha responded. It was the fact you even wrote a note. You were lining up your ducks in a row, my friend. Leaving a note definitely meant you had the night under control. Therefore I could only conclude you were on a date. Wow, Sherlock, you're off the charts. You better watch out, Patrick, you're playing Clue with Matlock. So it was a date, Sasha said. Yeah, it was a date, I said. Probably the best date I ever had. Ever had? Sasha laughed out loud. Wow, you are a putz. Now her claws were out. A putz? What is that supposed to mean? I walked over and poured myself a glass of milk from the refrigerator. It means you're a sap and you are probably getting played, Sasha stated as if she had the entire world figured out. Look, Sasha, not every girl has a boyfriend when they have a date with me. Was obviously referring to the night we first met. To be fair, Tommy, we weren't exactly on an official date. It was more of a hook-up. Exactly, and you played me like a fiddle. Just because that is something you're capable of doing, doesn't mean everyone else is like that. Ouch! Patrick chimed in loudly. Wow, Sasha continued. You must have gone on a date with Mother Teresa. Don't act like this, Sasha. When I came home earlier, you and Patrick were all cuddled up on my bed. They both looked at each other shocked. No, we weren't, Patrick said. Trust me. Your lips were inches apart. You were inhaling each other's exhales. They looked at each other and laughed. Look, Sasha, I like this girl and I don't want you to mess it up. Why would I mess it up? I don't know, I said. Ever since I met you, my life has sort of been in disarray. I looked at the cage in my living room and pointed at it. Case in point. Tommy, you have been real good to me, and if you need to have a girl or two break your heart along the way, that's your business. I'm just here to warn you about them because we're friends. Thanks for looking out, I said, rolling my eyes to Patrick. You two go and figure out who killed Mr. Body, and I'm going to go to bed, said and began to walk down the hall. I stopped and turned around. Unless you two need my bed for later, and finish where you left off. Please just go to bed, lover boy, Sasha mocked. Patrick seemed to like the fact I was implied he had a shot with Sasha. He had a silly grin on his face. I saluted my friends and went to my room and fell asleep in a matter of minutes. The next couple of weeks were pretty amazing. I spent every day with Maya and we were doing everything from going to the mall to having picnics in the park. Josiah and I started training 3 times a week. I took him down to my gym, and all the trainers were floored at his ability for being as young as he is. I was having the time of my life. I was a part of 2 different families. Had my vampire and werewolf dysfunctional threesome family, but even better, I was being accepted by the Rain household. They had invited me over for family night and I had been spending a lot of quality time with Daniel. He was very wise and I had never had a father figure in my life. He was always throwing out little nuggets of wisdom, and he had no idea how much it meant to me. The interesting part about everything was Maya and I had very little time alone, meaning we haven't slept together yet. We actually hadn't even gotten close to doing the horizontal rumba, and I totally didn't care. She had become an extension of me, and I never felt this way about anyone in my life. It had rained during the week, and I invited Maya to spend the night at my grandmother's cabin in Running Springs. She didn't hesitate to say yes. We knew we will have the whole weekend to be close, because it had rained. That meant there will be a lot of good snow. Also, this was the weekend that the full moon would be in full effect. I thought this might be as good of time as any to let her in on my little secret. Josiah wanted to come, but I really wanted to be alone with Maya. I didn't let him know that my family actually owned the cabin. I told him I had to be respectful to the people who owned it and could only have one guest. Poor guy. Didn't take the news well. But nonetheless, Maya and I packed our things and headed up to the San Bernardino Mountains. Patrick agreed to look after Sasha and make sure she wouldn't be let out of her cage. The two of them were really getting tight, and I couldn't tell if it was platonic or something more. Chapter 17. Maya and I headed to the mountains on Friday afternoon. There was almost no traffic, and I knew this was going to be a very special weekend. The higher we got, the more snow we could see on the side of the road. I knew Running Springs would have lots of good snow even though the sun was out. Takes a few days before the snow melts, and as far as I was concerned, it's better when there is sun. When we got to the cabin, I gave Maya the tour of the place. I showed her the downstairs, which consisted of 2 bedrooms, a living room, and a kitchen. Then I gave her the upstairs tour that just consisted of a gigantic bedroom with a bathroom. So this is my room when I stay here, I said. Where's my room? She asked innocently. You can sleep on the floor if you're good, I said teasingly. And if I'm bad? Then you can sleep on the bed with me. I crossed my fingers and closed my eyes. Please be bad. Please be bad. Maya smacked my arm and I winked at her. Does this place have cable? She asked. Yeah, sort of. It has the dish network, so when it snows it runs into problems. Well, it's not snowing anymore this weekend, so it should be fine. I looked at Maya and asked, so you came up to a cabin that is covered in snow and you're hoping to watch TV. What do you want to do? Maya asked. I sat on my bed and took off my shoes. They were wet from the snow outside. Well, first I'm going to put on a couple pair of socks, and then I thought we could cook dinner together and who knows, maybe have some wine. We really haven't had a night like this since our first date. Maya nodded. Remember, you're the one who likes to come over to my house and hang out with my family. So what are you saying? I asked, pretending to be hurt. I'm saying that. Maya hesitated before speaking. I'm saying that I have wanted some alone time with you two for quite some time. I looked up at her standing over me. Come here, I said, wrapping my arms around her waist. I hugged her and rested my head in her stomach. She put her hands around my head and massaged my scalp. Well, we're here now. I know, she said. What are we to do? First, I said, we should go downstairs. I got up and led her to the living room and we sat on the couch. She looked exquisite. She seemed to be more beautiful each day I've known her. I got up and put on some music on the stereo. I found a station that played slow songs. I walked over to the lights and turned them off. I then walked around the living room and began lighting every candle. This was a major Don Juan move. And normally this was my ace in the hole to get laid. But tonight this maneuver was different. I was going to take whatever came my way, do whatever felt natural. I have had plenty of sex in my time, and tonight was not going to be about that. If it comes to that, then hot damn, but my first intention is to show her I'm all about her tonight. The entire living room was lit with candles. I walked over and took Maya by the hand. I brought her to the middle of the living room floor. It was nice not having a 2,000-pound cage in the middle of a house. I knew that tomorrow's first full moon was going to cause all types of new conversations between Maya and me. I wanted tonight to be as normal as it could be. I have never been a romantic, and this kind of thing was only in my arsenal as a way to a means. But tonight it was coming from my heart. The stereo played Dan Hill's I Want to Hold You Till I Die. I love this song, she said. I pulled her close to me and we began slow dancing. We swayed our bodies and pressed up against each other. Maya looked up at me and said, I feel so safe with you. You should, I smiled. I'm one badass motherfucker. No, I'm being serious. I looked down at this phenomenal woman and smiled. I know you are. I know. This isn't going to make much sense, but I feel safe with you too. It makes perfect sense, she said, holding me tighter. We have something. Beyond this room, beyond this mountain. We have found each other, Tommy. Maya paused and then smiled shyly. I'm sorry. For what? For assuming. For assuming what? I said indignantly. Maya's eyes began to water up as the music played behind her. I'm sorry for assuming that you might think about me as much as I think about you. Tears began rolling down her face and I wiped them off. I looked deep into her eyes. Maya, in such a short time, you have become my everything. I think about you and yearn to be with you every waking moment. What you need to understand is that this isn't what I'm usually about. I have never had a serious girlfriend or thought for one second that anyone, yet alone a female, could understand my very being as you. You see things in me I haven't even discovered about myself. Each moment I'm with you surpasses the previous one. When it comes to you, all bets are off. I throw out every inhibition I ever have, and I just let you see me. Maya looked up at me in a way no person ever has. She looked at me in a way I wouldn't even dare to dream. Maya, I said. Yes, Tommy. For the first time in my life, I am about to utter these words out loud. Maya, I love you. Maya exhaled deeply and said, I love you too, Tommy. Maya hugged me tightly, and we slow danced a little longer, holding, loving, and kissing each other. Song after song, we just held our bodies close. This was an intimacy I had not yet experienced. This was a closeness that I didn't know could exist. Time was waning and I asked Maya if she liked to go up to my bedroom. She nodded her head, and I led her up the stairs into my room. My bedroom was simple considering I only spent a few days out of the year here. We lied on the bed next to one another and continued kissing. I had never felt this way before. For the first time in my life I was sharing passion with a woman, and sex was the last thing on my mind. I wanted to consume her. I wanted to inhale her essence and exhale her being. Tommy, Maya said. Yes, I answered. I'm not ready. I knew what she meant and it was okay with me. It's okay, Maya. All I want is to be with you. I meant every word I said. We continued to kiss and cuddle and eventually we fell asleep in each other's arms. It was the most perfect night I had ever shared with a woman. Chapter 18. The next day we got up early and went to breakfast in a quaint little cafe along the highway. It catered to locals and had an atmosphere that was about as enchanting as a place could be. Maya and I talked and shared every detail about our lives. I told her every bit about me except the whole paranormal thing. Tonight there would be a full moon. I was anticipating some weird shit happening again. My hearing was already off the charts when there wasn't a full moon, but I've been ignoring. Tonight, however, she'll be there to witness whatever happens to me for herself. Hopefully, then I can properly explain what I know, and that isn't a whole lot. We left breakfast and went back to the cabin around 10 in the morning. We decided to bundle up and go outside and make a snowman and do some sledding. We rolled snowballs as big as we could, but they weren't even close to the humongous ones you see on TV when they make a snowman on some Christmas special. Who knew making a snowman was a science? When we were done, we did a little bit of sledding on the driveway. That ended up being a sad display just as well. We eventually went inside to get cleaned up and put on a change of clothes. I had gone into the shower first and I put on a warm set of clothes and went downstairs and wrapped a couple of blankets on the couch. Maya took her shower and came down about a half hour later. So what's on the agenda, Mountain Man? I was all cuddled up on the couch and was feeling really comfy cozy. Well, I said, I thought we could go ice skating later on. There's a rink in Arrowhead. Ice skating? How fun. I never ice skated before. Well, you're in for a treat. Takes a few times to get the hang of it, but if you can roller skate, you can ice skate. That sounds like so much fun. Maya was really excited. Until then, I thought we could hang out at the cabin. I have every board game known to man and I'm itching to beat your butt. As long as we don't play Scrabble, we'll be okay. No, you don't like Scrabble. I literally stood up. Don't tell me you like it. Like it? I love it. It's chess with words, but even better. Oh no, you fit in so much with my family. I'm surprised Josiah and my dad haven't brought out the big board yet and played with you. They have marathon matches that last for weeks on end. Josiah plays? Josiah is sick at the game. Oh, it's on. I will take little brother down. When I'm done with him, I'm going after Pops. Don't get too cocky, Tommy. They're both pretty good. So let me get this straight. You think your 15-year-old brother can kick my ass in a fight and beat me at Scrabble? Maya was quiet and smiled sweetly at me. You do understand I'm an undefeated professional fighter? And I'm practically undefeated at Scrabble. And I believe you're really tough at fighting and can win against a lot of people at Scrabble. You need to understand, sweetie. My brother has beaten the best boxers in the world, and he's almost as good at Scrabble as good as he is at fighting. Everyone he fought was his age. My brother will fight anyone at any time. He beats up grown men all the time. So do I. And I get paid for it. Maya seemed amused that this bothered me, but I was getting a little annoyed by all of it. I mean, the kid just turned 16 for God's sake. And now she wants to throw Scrabble into the mix. Those are fighting words. One thing for sure, Maya was loyal as hell to her brother, even though it perturbed me that my girlfriend thought her little brother, who is 5 years younger than me, could beat me up and hand me my ass in a game of Scrabble. Had to live with that. Him in the gym. He's a beast. His hands are quicker than anyone I had ever seen. It was just damn humbling hearing it from the girl you cared about. One thing was for damn sure. I was going to whip his ass at Scrabble. I must have shown my irritation in my face because Maya said to me, Tommy, you know I think you're amazing. Just not as amazing as your brother, I said like a spoiled child. Does it really bother you this much? It didn't bother me the way she thought. I looked at Maya and said, I just want you to know that you're safe with me, that no one will ever harm you. Maya sat me back down on the couch. Honey, look at you. You're built like a pit bull. You're muscular and strong, and I wouldn't doubt for 1 second you could protect me against anyone in the world. You don't need to feel like you're any less just because my brother is a freak of nature. I nodded. I guess you're right. Maya stared at me and took my hand. There's something you need to know about my brother. When Josiah was 7 years old, he kicked the neighborhood bully's ass. The guy was 14 years old and terrorized everyone, big or small, in the neighborhood. He used to pick on us on the way home from school every day, and one day Josiah just had enough and he fought back. That guy never knew what hit him. Josiah threw 5 punches and every single one of them landed cleanly. The bully was bleeding all over the sidewalk. He tried to grab Josiah, but my little brother was like a ball of energy and the guy couldn't even keep him down. If the older boys hadn't stopped Josiah, I'm pretty sure he would have killed that kid. He did this in front of the whole block. After that, we all knew one thing was for sure. Little brother can fight. My dad has done everything he can so that Josiah doesn't use his abilities the wrong way and become a bully himself. I took in Maya's story, and truth be told, after learning those details about Josiah, it made me respect the little shit even more. You're lucky, Maya. Why is that? You have the most awesome family ever. I do, don't I? Not to mention your mom is pretty hot too, I said for good measure. I know. Right. Maya laughed. I know I couldn't piggyback on my previous comment about her mom without sounding like a big pervert, so I reeled it in. I'll let my mom know that 20-year-old guys are checking her out. Maybe it would make my dad pay more attention to her. Please don't tell her I said anything. You're right. My dad would kick your ass. Maya laughed. I know he will. Your dad is in great shape. Okay, Tommy. Are we going to spend all day talking about how hot my parents are? Or are we going to play some Connect 4? Connect 4? Oh, you're going down, I said and went over to my game closet. I pulled out a boatload of board games with Connect 4 being on top. Wow, you do know there is a thing called video games? Maya joked at the sight of all the board games I dropped in front of her. I am highly aware of video games, but that isn't the biggest turn on to a girl when you first start dating her. Oh, you plan on waiting till we're married to whip out that little detail of your life. Married. I nearly swallowed my tongue. Maya realized what she said and put her hand over her mouth. Easy there, Tommy. It was just a joke. I looked at Maya and couldn't believe what I was thinking. I was thinking, if I could be so lucky, didn't someone challenge me in a game of Connect 4? I sure did, lover boy. Maya and I played 6 games of Connect 4 and we split them 3-3. We went through nearly every game in my stack and had a blast playing each one. She even taught me how to play Texas Hold'em poker towards the end. I had seen it on TV but never fully understood the rules. It being winter and knowing that it gets dark around 6 o'clock at night, I decide we should hit the ice skating rink around 5 o'clock, figuring it might be less weird for her if some of my issues happened in public. We drove down the mountain to Arrowhead. Arrowhead was the next city below. Running Springs. We passed a high school named Rim of the World before we got to the rink. That had to be the all-time most unusual name ever for a high school. It sounded more like an amusement park or a landmark. We got to the ice skating rink and it was pretty packed. What did I expect? It was winter and a Saturday night. There wasn't a whole lot to do out here and the locals must love this joint. We got our skates and went over to the chairs to lace them up. So you've done this before, right? Maya asked me. She was having trouble lacing up her skates. So I leaned over and helped her get her skates on tight. They need to be on tighter than anything you have ever put on your feet. Before, you don't want to twist your ankle, which is really easy to do, I said. I got my skates on and then we were off to the rink. I hit the ice and showed off a little by speed skating around the rink a couple of times. The second time around I whipped in and went over to Maya. Done impressing all the girls in this place? Maya asked. She obviously wasn't too pleased at my display of my testosterone. I wasn't trying to impress girls plural, I assured her. I was just hoping to impress you. She winked at me. You sure did, Apollo. Oh no. Could you be a dear and help me get started? I took her hand and she hobbled onto the ice. We went slowly around the ice. Told her to just glide her feet like roller skating. Eventually, she got the hang of it and was doing pretty damn good. We skated around for about an hour and I knew the full moon was going to be out any moment. Then it happened right on cue. The music DJ guy put on a slow song. Couples skate, he announced over the speaker. Wanna skate? I asked. Of course, she said. Unless you were hoping to ask one of these teenagers to skate with you. I just want to skate with you, I assured her. Teenage girls have nothing on you. They really didn't. Maya was the prettiest girl in here. I decided to turn my body around and so I could face my girlfriend while we skated. I skated backwards slowly while holding both of Maya's hands. Maya skated in front of me tentatively. She started out rough, but after a lap around she was getting the hang of it. This is nice, Tommy. It is, isn't it? I smiled at her warmly. She smiled back. But then her mouth just dropped wide open. Are you okay, Tommy? Why? Your eyes are bright yellow. Holy shit. Here it is. It must be dark outside. I feel fine, I said, trying to not freak her out. Let's go sit down, she said. You don't look good. We don't need to that. I feel great. Maya continued to stare at me and her face said it all. She was completely freaked out. No, we're going to go sit down. All right. We skated off the ice and sat in a couple chairs by the snack bar. The snack bar was more lit than ice rink, and that didn't make things any better. I sat across from Maya and she just stared at me with a puzzled look. What's wrong? I asked. I don't know, you look different. You were scruffy this morning, but your beard looks like it has already filled out. I just nodded my head and allowed her to try to come to grips with what she was seeing. Your ears, she said. They appear to be pointier. That's new, I thought. And your nose seems to be longer than it was just minutes ago. It's like someone replaced you with a bad body double. A bad body double? Thanks. I tried to make light of it, but I could tell Maya was about to lose it. No, I didn't mean it like that. Maya continued to stare at me. Could tell she was thinking she was losing her mind, and I decided this was the moment to let her in on the truth. Let's leave, I said. I have something to tell you. Okay, Maya said slowly. We turned in our skates and headed back to my car. I began to drive back and decided to pull over at the Rim of the World High School parking lot so we could talk. I parked my car in the large empty lot and took the keys out of the ignition and stared straight ahead. What's happening, Tommy? Are you having an allergic reaction or something? It's not an allergic reaction, I answered back. Then please tell me what the hell is going on. I didn't say anything at first. I knew I had to tell her and I was just praying this wouldn't be a deal breaker. It's something a little more bizarre than that, I said. Okay, tell me what's happening to you. I turned and faced Maya. She looked at me, petrified, and it broke my heart. She was no longer seeing me as I am. She was seeing this half thing I had become. Maya, there are things in this world that are unexplainable, and up to a month ago, I didn't believe any of it myself. Okay, she said. She had apprehension in her voice that scared me to tell her anymore, but I had to. Maya, I said plainly. I'm in the process of becoming a werewolf. What? Are you fucking with me? No, I'm not, I assured her. I'm not fully understanding what's happening to me myself. All I can tell you is that I know werewolves are real. You're being totally serious, Tommy? Yes. And you can just say that out loud and that doesn't sound weird coming out of your mouth. Of course it sounds weird. You need to understand this is something I didn't believe in either. But I have seen it with my own eyes. I have seen a human turn into a full-blown werewolf. Maya's eyes started spinning and she opened the car door and started running across the parking lot. I opened my door and yelled, "Where are you going?" "Anywhere but here," she yelled back to me. "Maya, please stop. If you care about me at all, please let me talk to you." Maya stopped at the end of the parking lot and refused to turn around. At least she stopped running. I walked over to her and brought her back slowly to my car. I tell you what, let me tell you the entire story and maybe it might make more sense. Maya, you know me. You know I'm not crazy. You know if I think it's true, then there's at least the possibility it could be because I'm not crazy. Maya sat in my passenger seat and she seemed horrified. I reached over and held her hand, and right there I told her the whole story regarding Sasha and how I was bit and now I was in some limbo phase. She was having a hard time keeping it together. It didn't help either that I mentioned dating my roommate. For a short period, she had a lot to take in, but she did allow me to speak. Decided to hold off on telling her about vampires. Maya got out of the car again, but this time she didn't run. She just sat on the hard asphalt floor, crossed her legs and closed her eyes as if she was doing yoga. I got out of my car and walked over to her. "What are you doing?" I asked. "This is how I calm down," she said. I nodded. "Go ahead, knock yourself out." Maya sat there for a brief time and then looked up at me. "What I don't understand is, what's happening to you?" Like I said, Maya, I was bit horribly in the shoulder by a werewolf that was in his human form. I think nature or the triad has put me in some kind of werewolf purgatory, where I'm neither a man nor a werewolf. This is the same triad my grandfather used to talk about? It could be a coincidence, but I doubt it. So you're saying you might be partially immortal? I don't think that's how it works. You're either immortal or you're not. But as far as you know, you could be completely immortal? Possibly. I don't plan on testing it out. I laughed. We sat out there and talked until the wee hours of the morning. Maya seemed to believe me, and how could she not? I just sported a new beard in my face. Changed into a partial werewolf. We eventually made our way back to the cabin. And to my surprise, Maya didn't pull away once after obtaining this new bit of information about me. If anything, it drew her closer to me. The rest of the weekend we just talked and took care of each other. Chapter 19. During the next couple of weeks, Maya and I continued to get even closer. Had decided to pay for Sasha to get her Jeep out of being impounded. She agreed to do my laundry and wash my car until I felt she had paid me back. Sasha had been pushing for her and Patrick to meet Maya for a couple weeks. Now, I hadn't brought the three of them together out of fear that Sasha would say something inappropriate to Maya. Maya was cool that Sasha lived with me, even though we had a thing back when. I assured Maya that I had zero feeling towards her, and that was good enough for her. I just felt it was better to just keep them isolated. Plus, Sasha makes snide remarks insinuating Maya is going to lower the bomb on me at any moment and show her true colors. She can't believe anyone can be as perfect as I claim Maya to be. Well, she's wrong. I know I couldn't put off the three of them meeting forever. Patrick and Sasha had become two of very best friends and Maya was my girlfriend. So after being pressured relentlessly by both Sasha and Maya, I put together a dinner for the four of us in Hollywood. I knew I wanted zero problems, so I had decided we all should go to out of town. That way it would be a new experience for everyone, and at least we all have that in common. Or at least they would. I had picked a nice little restaurant called the French Market that I had gone to a year ago on a blind date set up by my trainer Mo. We took 2 separate cars down to Hollywood. I had picked up Maya by myself, and then we took the 10 freeway and did a straight shot to Hollywood. Thought it would be silly for Patrick and Sasha to follow us because it would be extremely out of their way. So we all agreed to meet at the restaurant around 8 o'clock. It would be dark, so Patrick wouldn't have any sun issues to deal with. We got to Hollywood in about an hour. We parked in a small rundown parking lot down the street from the restaurant and walked up to get to the French market. I had let Maya know that Patrick called me Cairo as a nickname, and I made a story to explain why. It was an awful lie that made no sense, which is one of the reasons why I don't lie to people, because I'm horrible at it. When we arrived, Patrick and Sasha were already seated having a drink. Sasha was dressed to the nines, her hair done up real nice, and had enough makeup on to last a girl like Maya a whole month. I led Maya to the table where my two friends were sitting. They were laughing, drinking wine, and engaged in a conversation. I stopped at the front of the table, and Patrick stopped whatever he was saying when he saw me. Cairo, you guys made it. I watched Maya's face as Sasha looked up at us. Hi guys. Sasha's eyes were beaming. Hello, Maya said. She seemed a bit surprised that Sasha was a complete knockout, but as far as I could tell, it wasn't bothering her too much. Maya, I said. These are my two roommates, Patrick and Sasha. Hello, Maya said again. Wow, she's gorgeous, Tommy, Sasha proclaimed, as if I just showed up to the dinner with a prized horse. Maya seemed embarrassed by Sasha's overly complimentary statement but smiled politely. I pulled out a seat for Maya to sit down, and then I sat next to her. So what's good, Tommy? Sasha asked. I actually don't remember, I said. I would assume all the food is pretty good. Tommy, didn't you say you went here before on a date? Sasha smirked. Yes, I said, staring at Sasha with a look that said, did you really have to say that right off the bat? Sasha caught my look, and it didn't seem to matter to her because she had something to say and it couldn't wait. What kind of date was it, Tommy? It was just a regular date, Sasha. It wasn't a big deal, so can you drop it? And you had it here? She continued to badger me with questions. Yes, I answered. What's the big deal? I was getting upset now. She didn't need to push the issue. Look around and tell me what you see, Sasha said. She stopped herself from laughing out loud. What was she talking about? I looked around the restaurant and quickly saw what she was referring to. Every table had couples having romantic dinners. There was something I had apparently overlooked the last time I was here. They were all same-sex couples. I couldn't help but smile. Were you going through an experimental phase? Sasha joked. Maya looked around and figured it out too, that this restaurant obvious catered to a gay clientele. Maya looked over me to join and joined in the joke. Wow, she's right, Tommy. You have some explaining to do. Patrick jumped in for my defense, sort of. Dude, it's cool, Cairo. We all are a little gay. Very funny, I said to Patrick. Well, it's good to know that you're not homophobic, Sasha laughed. I guess not. I said, okay, haha. Could we change the subject? Yes, we can, sweetie, Maya said. We don't need to make you remember a time you like to forget. Really? Maya? You too. Oh, sweetie. The only thing gay about you is your body. What's that supposed to mean? Gay guys are really in shape, Sasha said. At my gym, all the hottest guys are gay. Yeah, you're a real gym rat, Sasha. Patrick laughed. Hey, I used to be. Just because I sit around eating cookies all day and playing Monopoly is your entire fault. I looked over at Maya, and she seemed to be enjoying our friendly banter with one another, and from that point on the four of us had a wonderful dinner with great conversation. Sasha and Maya seemed to really hit it off. Couldn't tell if Sasha was just going along with it because that was the right way to act, or if she generally liked Maya. I knew Maya liked both Sasha and Patrick because she's far too real of a person to fake the good time she was having. We finished up dinner and all agreed to meet up at some coffee shop off of Silver Lake Street. The four of us walked back to the little parking lot where Maya and I had originally parked. Apparently, Sasha had parked her Jeep in the lot also. I was holding Maya's hand and we were walking behind Sasha and Patrick. We approached the parking lot and three dark-haired guys wearing all black were walking towards us. I had a weird feeling in the pit of my stomach. I knew something wasn't right. Surprisingly, they walked past us and didn't say a word. Then after a brief moment, the reason for my bad feeling became apparent. Hey, Gutterball! One of them yelled at us. I turned around at the oddity of being called Gutterball. As I turned around, Patrick said, let's get out of here. Do you know these guys, Patrick? I asked. Let's just go, Patrick repeated earnestly. Why are they calling you Gutterball? Because I first met them at a bowling alley and I wasn't too good at bowling. Patrick was hurrying to Sasha's Jeep. Gutterball. That's you, right? One of the guys continued to yell. Patrick continued to ignore them, and that didn't make matters better. In a blink of an eye, the guy yelling at us had shot his way across the parking lot and stood right in front of us. The guy had shoulder-length long black hair and was Arabic. "Fucking gutterball," the guy said. "Where the hell you been?" Patrick looked up and nervously said, "I've been around." "Well, you've been nowhere near us. As a matter of fact, one might say you have gone completely out of your way to avoid the Brotherhood." Great, as if I didn't already know these assholes were Mani. They were fucking vampires. I didn't know what to do. I mean, these guys obviously came here looking for Patrick. Someone must have given them a heads up that he was down here. "Girls, get in the car," I said. "Fuck no," Sasha said. "These guys don't scare me." "Maya, get in the car," I repeated. Maya looked at me scared and it broke my heart. I never wanted to see her ever give me a look like that. Maya jumped in my car and locked the door. "Cute girl, gutterball," the guy continued. "Which of these skanks is your date?" "Excuse me," I said. "Excuse you," the black hair punk repeated back to me. "You probably will want to get into the car with your girlfriend. You really don't want to see this." "See what?" I asked. "Well, Gutterball went AWOL, and there is only one way we deal with AWOL. Cowards. No one's touching Patrick," I warned them. The three Mani men all laughed at me. "Cute," the Mani guy said. "Patrick got a boyfriend while he was gone. No wonder we found him in West Hollywood." "You need to shut your punkus Mani mouth," I said without a hint of fear in my voice. "Mani? Patrick, you told this guy about us and you let him live? We weren't going to kill you too," the guy said directly to me. "But now you leave us with no choice. Unfortunately, now that Patrick let the cat out of the bag, there's only one thing we can do." Screw that, I was tired of this asshole talking and prolonging the inevitable. I knew Sasha was pretty tough and I had no idea what Patrick was about when came to fighting. At worst it's 3-on-3 even if my 3 were questionable. Plus, no one calls my girlfriend a skank and gets away with it. I charged the guy that was directly in front of us making the most noise, grabbed him by his shirt and threw him on top of an SUV. I threw an elbow across his face that absolutely obliterated his mouth. I began dropping elbows like sledgehammers down on his skull. His eyes rolled back and then he just disappeared and a black, injured bird shot across the sky and flew off. A vampire. I looked over at Maya in the car and her mouth was completely dropped open. She seemed real worried, and I knew I'd better take care of business quickly and get the hell out of here. I turned around and Patrick was clearly getting his ass beat by one of the bastards while the other guy was on top of Sasha. First things first, I ran over to Sasha and wrapped my arms around the neck of the vampire that was on top of her. I dug the front of my forearm deep into his skinny little Mani neck so I felt nothing but Adam's apple. I cranked up my forearm and swung the asshole in a circle while choking him out. "Transition," the other vampire yelled while he was dismantling Patrick, and sure enough, the Mani I had swinging by his neck disappeared and flew off into the dark sky. All right, there was one remaining and he was surely getting the best of Patrick. Sasha tried to go over there, but this guy was definitely the biggest and the baddest of the three, and unfortunately he attacked our weakest member. "Who the hell are you?" I asked. "Why do you even care about Patrick?" "Because he's one of us. If we let him live, then there is no order." Then the Mani guy roundhouse kicked Patrick and dropped him to the gravel. Patrick yelled, "I never wanted to be part of this, Monty. You guys made me into something I never wanted to be." "Oh, cry me a river," Monty said, with about as much empathy as a drill sergeant. Okay, this needed to stop. Monty has obviously drunk the Kool-Aid, and as far as I knew, he was the one serving it. Monty leaped on top of Patrick while he was on the ground and had a silver stake in his hand, the same stakes those Mani had that night in the desert. I hurried over to him and stomped on top of his neck. It was the most ferocious stomp-like kick I had ever delivered. His neck made a cracking sound that almost made me throw up when I heard it. Patrick slid from under him and Monty face planted on the pavement and didn't move. "Transition, asshole, and get the fuck out of here," I yelled at him, trying to spare his scrawny little life. Monty turned over and said, "This isn't over." "Oh, I think it is." I turned my head for a brief moment to look at Patrick, and that was all it took for Monty to plunge onto my neck. He bit down into the side of my neck and began to suck like a vampire. I did the only thing I could do. I pulled his fucking hair like a little girl. I yanked his head back to where I could get my right hand into his mouth, and, with my fingers, I ripped his vice grip that he had on my neck. He continued to bite down, but I shoved my fingers down his throat. I did this repeatedly, until he began choking. He finally let up, and then he fell to the left of me, gasping for air. Sasha jumped on top of him and just unloaded a sea of fists on his face. He didn't know what hit him, and I was glad one of my friends finally stepped up. The guy eventually composed himself and was able to defend himself against Sasha. He caught her with a backhand and she flew back into the back of my Mustang. I was now extremely pissed off. I was tired of these assholes biting me, and something in my brain just temporarily snapped. I jumped on top of Monty while he was still on the ground and pounded his face in further. He managed to get to his feet and we squared in a fight for the ages, or at least it was for me. I spent the next 5 minutes beating the shit out of this guy. I didn't want to kill him. I wanted him to live and feel my wrath. The guy finally gave up and never once got a decent shot on me. "You're not human," he said. "Well, I'm not a werewolf either." Then something unusual happened. This Monty man's eyes lit up. "Really? What are you?" "I'm in between jobs right now. I'll let you know when I settle in." The guy wiped his brow and nodded his head. He was apparently tired of taking an ass beating by a half-breed. He transitioned and flew off like a shooting star across the sky. I looked at my two injured friends. There's never a dull moment with you two, is there? I got into my car, and Maya immediately put her jacket over my neck and hugged me. "We need to get to the freeway quick, babe. Who know who's coming back?" said. Maya looked at me and didn't seem too worried. As a matter of fact, she seemed a bit proud. "I take it back," she told me. "You just might be able to beat up my brother." I looked over at her and shook my head, and then peeled my Mustang out of the parking lot with Sasha and Patrick right behind me in Sasha's Jeep. Chapter 20. Maya put pressure on my neck bite the whole way home with her jacket. "You really should go to the emergency room." "I'm all right. I'm actually becoming a pro with the whole being bitten on the body thing." I exited the freeway and headed towards my apartment. I looked up in my rearview mirror and saw that Sasha was still following me. I looked up in the sky and it appeared that we weren't being followed by any blackbirds, red hawks, or any other supernatural creature of the night. I pulled into my apartment complex, parked, and hurried to my apartment. Knew couldn't be too careful considering I didn't want any of these assholes knowing where I lived. It was apparent that whoever was after Patrick had no idea he was staying with me. Sasha and Patrick parked followed behind us into the apartment. When we all got inside my apartment and I knew we were safe, that was when I decided to explode. "What the fuck was that about, Patrick? Are you fucking kidding me? You're part of some secret brotherhood that you never let any of us know you were running away from? You failed to mention that these guys might want to hunt you down and try to kill you if they were to find you? Worse yet, you put my girlfriend and Sasha in danger. What the fuck were you thinking?" "It's not like that, Cairo, I swear," Patrick said. "Look, dude, these guys were so pissed off at you to that they were willing to kill you and not think twice about it. They would kill anyone and not think twice about it." Patrick was now shouting. It was nice to see him have some emotion, but it was a little too late. We could have used it back there when we were fighting his Monty buddies. Patrick began to pace around the apartment. He finally got control and said, "Tommy, I would never intentionally put you in a situation like what happened tonight. I especially wouldn't want Maya and Sasha to have to deal with any of that. Guess what, Dick? We all had to deal with it." "Wait a second. No, I had to deal with it. As I recall, I was fighting alone." I looked at Maya and she seemed overwhelmed. She hadn't a clue what she had just experienced. "This is so unfair, you two," I said to both Sasha and Patrick. I was finally going to stand up for myself, and it was about time. "You two came into my life and completely fucked everything up." Sasha looked at me shocked. "Don't look at me like that, Sasha. It's because of you I'm some tweaked out half werewolf. You screwed up my life and now you're trying to screw up Maya's. This isn't fair to her." I looked over at Maya. "I am so sorry to bring this world to you." Tears began to roll down my eyes. I wanted us to be normal, I was hoping. I stopped myself from continuing to speak because I was afraid to show any more emotion. Maya didn't respond. She seemed to be in utter shock. Maya, I'll take you home, I said. I know you don't want any part of this. I walked over to the door and opened it. That's where you're wrong, Maya said softly. My back was to the three of them facing the door. How can I be wrong? Said. No one would want this. I don't necessarily want this specific situation, but what I do want is you. Maya walked over and put her arms around my waist. My back was still to her. And all I could I sigh and lower my head. Come back inside, Tommy, Maya said softly to me. We all need to talk this out and figure out what our next steps are going to be. I turned around and all three of them were looking at me with a desperate need. Like it or not, this was my reality and it looks like Maya was on board. I closed the door and walked over and sat at my table. I put my head on top of the table and groaned. What the fuck are we going to do? I said. Sasha walked over and sat at the table with me. Tommy, you kicked a lot of ass tonight. You don't have any idea how impossible it is for a human to defeat a Mani or a Karnai. Tonight you defeated 3 Mani men pretty much by yourself. Yeah, so, I said. So there is no out there that is like you. You can make your own rules. You don't need to be part of any kind of clan or brotherhood you don't want to be. You can do whatever you want. I got up and walked into the living room where the cage occupied most of the room. Maya looked at the cage and said, I still can't get over the fact that there is a cage in your living room. Maya walked over to me and the two of us sat on the carpet to the side of the cage facing the others in the kitchen. Maya then asked, so basically vampires and werewolves are among us and no one knows it. Oh, people find out. That's when the Mani kills them, Patrick answered. Why doesn't Karnai feel the need to kill? Maya asked. Karnai are closer to human DNA than Mani, Sasha said. Karnai are basically humans 27 days out of the month. They only have paranormal abilities 3 nights out of the month. They live among the humans, and the Tandra never find out who's among them. Other than the fact they don't age, they are basically humans. Because Karnai and humans work so close together, the Karnai have a soft spot for the Tandra. Unfortunately, Mani could give a shit because they look at humans as a way to survive. Because of their blood? Maya asked. But Patrick seems pretty normal. He hasn't wanted to jump on top of me and suck my blood. Sasha nodded her head and continued. Patrick is different because he's still a baby when it comes to being a Mani. The more he feeds, the more he will crave human blood. Once that happens, he will be a bigger risk at becoming like the guys we met tonight. So, Mani are basically psychopathic killers that wait around to kill? Said. Great. This is what we have to look forward to with Patrick. I hope not, Patrick said. But the truth is I'm constantly fighting the urge not to bite you. For real? I asked. You have no idea? You're fucking ripped, Tommy. Your veins bulge out constantly. It's like waving a steak in front of a starving dog. I'll be sure to quit flexing in front of you, I said. I wasn't in the mood to joke, but I couldn't resist. Just keep sipping on your water bottle full of human blood and stay away from my veins. I looked at Patrick and then asked, You're constantly sipping on your blood. Doesn't that help? The blood bottle helps, but nothing goes down and tastes as good as live human blood dripping from someone's body. Patrick's eyes looked like they were about to come out of his head. You're freaking Maya out. I would never harm you, Tommy, Patrick said sincerely. I laughed out loud. I'm pretty sure I could handle you, big boy. Remember, you didn't exactly hold your own in our little tussle earlier. I wasn't a fighter before I became a Mani, Patrick said, defending himself. Plus, I'm still hurt. Yeah, you didn't fight well tonight because of your larynx, I said sarcastically. I didn't even want to be a Mani. It was the last thing in this world I wanted to be. What happened to you, Patrick? Maya asked. Patrick paused and then looked at Maya and said, I had no choice. I had been bitten twice in the last 2 years by Mani, and just like you, Tommy, I was in this weird limbo place where I would crave blood but couldn't actually consume it. So what? You just gave up and let them bite you a third time? I asked. Not exactly. I put myself in a bad situation one night at a bowling alley and just allow fate to run its course. I guess you didn't bowl too well that night either, Gutterball. I couldn't help myself. I looked at everyone and said, I've now been bitten twice by Mani. Great. I'm now going to have vampire tendencies as well as a werewolf. You're going to need to make a decision, Tommy, Sasha came out and said to me. I knew what she was leading to. I'm not ready to do that, I said. Tommy, you're on the money radar now, Sasha continued. They know you're a complete stud that just kicked the shit out of 3 of their own. The way Mani function as a group is they don't look for revenge against Tandra or humans. It's pointless to them. The way they see it, if you can hold your own against them, then you're a great candidate to become a Mani. They are always seeking new members. They are going to want you to be one of them. They know. If they had you, they would have one of toughest motherfuckers ever on their side. I looked at Patrick and he nodded his head. I then looked at Maya and she was heavily engaged in the conversation but definitely had apprehension in her eyes. Patrick, why were you hiding from them? I asked. Because I regret allowing myself to be bitten for the 3rd time, he answered. I put myself in a bad situation and I regretted my decision. Instantly. You can't run from them forever, I said. I know, Cairo. They are worse than a street gang. If you denounce them once, you have become one of them, you might as well be dead. I again looked at Maya and she was doing her best to take all of this in. How she was holding up was beyond me. So what do you think? I asked Maya. It doesn't matter what I think. The way I see it, there's no turning back for you. If you get bit one more time by a vampire, you will be one of them, like it or not. I think you should at least have a choice. Maya stopped and then looked at Sasha. Are the Karnai like the Mani where they desire to harm people? No, not at all, Sasha said. Karnai self-regulate themselves and they live by a strict code. Karnai try to live as normal of a life as they can and assimilate into the human condition. So what you're telling me? I jumped in. I have to decide between being a blood-sucking vampire that has psychopathic tendencies and being a werewolf, where I have no recollection when I turn. Basically, yeah, Maya answered. Given the 2 choices, I'd much rather be a werewolf. No offense, Patrick, but Mani are fucking crazy. None taken, Patrick responded. Sasha continued. What you need to understand, Tommy, is you're right. When you become a werewolf, you have virtually no memory. You have no idea what you're doing. You're no better than a stray dog wandering around looking for something to eat. Well, we seem to have you under control with the cage. Sometimes it's not that easy. That's why Karnai go off to the desert or the mountains. They can at least run free and be with their own. I looked at Patrick. That night where I ran into you, why did the Mani attack the Karnai in the desert? We knew they were going to be there, and the leaders of the Brotherhood were craving blood, not lifeblood, but blood of a werewolf. There is no better blood than that of your enemies. So you look at Karnai as an enemy? I asked. I don't, Patrick assured me. But I'm the exception. Karnai and Mani had been killing each other for hundreds of years, Sasha said. They are like rival street gangs that hate each other out of historic reasons, but they are 10 times worse and they don't use guns. All of this knowledge was making my head hurt. If I do this, I said, I would want Sasha to be the one to bite me. We could control that. I think that the only way it can be done, Maya agreed. How are you so at peace with all this? I asked Maya. Don't mistake my calmness with peace, Tommy. This is about the worst thing I have ever heard. But you have no choice. I saw everything tonight with my own eyes. I saw men turn into birds. I saw how they wanted to kill you. I am adamantly against you becoming a Mani. Again, no offense, Patrick. And again, none taken, Patrick mumbled. I looked at the 3 of them. So I guess we wait. In 10 more days there will be another full moon. Chapter 21. After a few more rounds of going in circles, we decided to call it a night. I'll take you home, Maya, I said, grabbing my keys from the counter. No, you're not, Maya said plainly. I'm going to take care of you tonight. Need to clean that wound on your neck. Maya walked over and looked at my bite. Great, my dad is going to think I gave you the world's biggest hickey. Trust me, I'd rather that what was the case. Then at least I could wrap my mind around it. I don't think you'd want a girlfriend who made a habit out of making your neck a snack, Maya said, smiling at me. Wow, she was so amazing. Couldn't believe how supportive she was being. Hey Tommy, Patrick said. If Maya is going to spend the night, you guys can have. Patrick stopped what he was saying and thought for a moment. I forgot. That's the only room you can sleep in. I know, Patrick. We'll figure something out. I'm kind of stuck. I can't sleep out here, there are too many windows and we Don't have enough cardboard. I guess that means you and Sasha are going to bunk together, I said. It wouldn't be the first time. Sasha gave me a look that pretty much said, don't mess with me tonight, I'm exhausted. Is it okay with you, Sasha? Patrick asked, as if he was asking her to the prom. I really don't have much of a choice, do I? She said. I stuck up for my boy even if he was the worst fighter I have ever seen. You can always sleep in your cage, princess. The last time I checked I hadn't received a rent check from you. Apparently this was not the time to point out the obvious to Sasha. Sasha glared at me and said, you know what, you never once asked me to pay rent. And now, you want to bring it up in front of your girlfriend so you can look superior. Seriously, where was this coming from? I just stared at Sasha with a bewildered look on my face. I'm out of here. Sasha got up and barged out of the front door. The three of us remaining in the room just looked at each other surprised. Should I go after her? Patrick asked. Let her go. She's ungrateful, and the truth of the matter is she's needed a splash of reality. She couldn't stay here forever. Patrick nodded his head in a way that he assumed I was referring to him also. You're different, Patrick, I said. Patrick smiled. I'm going to fix the window up in Sasha's room so no sunlight can get in. Maya looked at me and said, I'm going to run you a bath, mister. Soak your body. It's been through the ringer tonight. Just the idea that Maya would draw me a bath aroused me. We hadn't done the main event yet and it didn't take much to get me going when it came to her. She hadn't given me the it's all clear for landing signal, and I cared too much for her to press it. I hope Sasha is going to be safe, Maya said, walking past me to get to the bathroom. She went in and began drawing the bath for me. Something tells me the woman in Maya didn't mind at all that Sasha left, but she wouldn't let on that she was pleased. She's a big girl, I said. Don't forget, she's the whole reason why I'm in this mess. I turned to Patrick. Listen, dude, seriously, I like having you here and I'm responsible that you're still kind of jacked up. Well, I'm responsible that you've been bitten twice by vampires. Not to mention that you had to single-handedly fight 3 of them tonight. We're not even close to being square. I owe you everything. You don't owe me shit. Get some rest. I took off my shoes and threw them by the door. You think Sasha is going to be okay? Patrick asked. Who knows? At this point, if she wants to act that way, I don't really care. She's not mad about the room, you know that, right? I know, I said. I know she's jealous, but the difference between her and Maya's night and day. Frankly, I prefer day a whole lot better because I can see what I'm doing. I walked to the bathroom and Maya was sitting on the side of the tub testing the warmth of the water. My grandmother used to do that for me when I was a kid. This was one very special woman. Why the hell did I get her involved in this? You know, I said. It's a pretty big tub. Maya looked at me surprised and said, I don't think so. Would it really be that awful? No, it wouldn't be awful, it would actually be quite nice, but under the circumstances of tonight, I don't think that would be too appropriate. All right, and now was the hard sell. I was only asking to share a bath with her, not pour hot wax on top of her. I think there really isn't any protocol for appropriateness when one gets attacked by vampires. As a matter of fact, I think all rationale is thrown out the window. Maya smiled and I could see that she was thinking about it. Okay, she said. If we were to do this, we need bubbles. Really? I said like a kid just was told he's going to Disneyland. Don't get weird about it or I'll rethink it. Definitely don't rethink it, I said. Hold on. I went into my bedroom and went into my closet. I had a box full of scented candles that were given to me at Christmas as a gag gift from one of my buddies. I figured they would be perfect for a bubble bath party. I brought the box of candles into the bathroom. I got the candles. Maya looked up and said, I see that. She had poured in some shampoo and there were lots of bubbles. I put 5 candles around the bathroom at different spots and lit them. If you like to go to my room, I have a robe you can use. All right. Maya turned off the water and left the bathroom. I took off all my clothes. She was right about my muscles hurting. Everything hurt, especially my neck. I stepped into the tub and I scooted over to the right. The hot, soapy water felt so good. I leaned back and closed my eyes. I hadn't really caught my breath since the fight and I was really enjoying this little moment. I sat back and thought about everything. I never fathomed that anything like this would ever happen to me in my life. This life isn't about vampires and werewolves. It's about getting an education and getting good job. It's about having a family and living in a house with a white picket fence. Poor Maya. Can't believe that she is still here. She must really love me. I sighed and opened my eyes and looked around the candle-lit room. It looked pretty cool. It definitely set a mood. What kind of mood? I guess only the night knows. I heard footsteps walking up to the bathroom door, and then the door opened. Slowly, Maya walked in wearing one of my white robes. The robe was huge on her tiny frame. I smiled at Maya, and gave her a look that assured her I wasn't going to perv on her as she disrobed. I leaned my head back and Maya dropped the robe off her body. She stood there completely naked. She looked absolutely gorgeous. Her body was perfect, every curve perfectly proportioned. Her skin was milky white and she didn't have a drop of fat on her body. She looked like an angel in the candle-lit room, a really freaking hot angel that was about to share a bubble bath with me. She walked over and stepped into the tub and sat down. What's your sensitive area? I asked, trying to make the situation more comfortable. Huh? She looked at me confused. When a guy goes into a hot tub, he has to put his hands around his package, because the hot water fries his manhood. Actually, no. I'm a good girl. I know the present condition says the contrary. But other than the boyfriend I told you about, I haven't done much. Does your dad need to know you're staying here tonight? I asked. I texted my mom and Josiah and told them I was staying over cause you weren't feeling good and you needed some TLC. TLC? I laughed. It's more like I need a MSH unit. Are you sure you don't want to go to the emergency room? I really don't want to deal with the questions. Plus that guy only dug his teeth deep into my neck. He didn't tear off any flesh. I won't need stitches. After I made the last statement, we were both quiet. Our legs were touching, but I hadn't got the nerve to cozy up to her. I was completely at full arousal, so I didn't want to scare her with my life stick drilling her in the ribs. I closed my eyes and then it happened. She made her way over to me. She laid on top of my body and there really wasn't much I could do about hiding how excited certain regions of my body were. I adjusted my body so we were comfortable. Maya took a washcloth and began wiping my neck and then wiped my shoulder. You must taste good, Maya laughed. Why is that? You have more bites on you than a box of donuts. It's amazing. I had gone my whole life with the only time I was bitten was by the weird kid in preschool. But somehow I managed to get chomped on 3 times in 2 months. You're running out of body parts. Maya then put her hand in between my thighs and massaged my inner leg. Oh wow, I said. You know this is the closest I have been to your package. I'm highly aware of that, I said, enjoying her teasing. You know, Tommy, you have been so amazing about waiting for me to be ready. No guy has ever done that. I have to say, I had an advantage on other guys. Oh, you did? Why is that? I know we will always be together and I didn't have to rush it. Maya looked at me and smiled. Do you really think that? She asked. I know it, I said, as certain as I'd ever been about anything in my life. You are so wonderful, Tommy. I know. Oh, you know. Maya laughed. I'm pretty awesome, I know that. I just can't believe I was able to find the one person who is actually more awesome than I am. Wow, there's a line for the ages, she snickered. Maya, I said calmly. It's not a line. If I was to write down the perfect person and give details to the utmost degree, it would be you. You're the most beautiful woman inside and out I have ever known. I paused and reached out my hand and held hers under the water. What you need to know, Maya, is I don't do this. I don't sit around candle-lit bathrooms and whisper sweet nothings in someone's ear. Everything is different with you. My guard is completely down. I don't care how foolish I sound. All I know is I want to spend every waking moment with you. Maya looked at me and grabbed my face and began to kiss me passionately. I kissed her back. Each time our lips touched, I felt a level of intensity one had never experienced. I felt like a volcano ready to explode. We both stood up out of the water and were still kissing. Don't slip, I said. You either. We stepped out of the tub and our naked, wet bodies stumbled around my clothes. On the floor, I pressed her up against the inside of the bathroom door and kissed her behind her neck. I kissed her shoulder and the top of her back. Let's go to your bedroom, she said. She didn't have to ask me twice. I peeked open the door to make sure no one was outside, and once I saw the coast was clear, I took Maya's hand and scurried over to my bedroom. We collapsed on my bed after I shut the door, and we were still wet from the tub, but we didn't care. From that moment it was all her, and I had never felt so natural with a woman in my life. It wasn't about sex. Don't get me wrong, we made love for hours. But it was about connecting. Our souls intertwined, our hearts meshed together. I never understood how two people could become one. Until this moment, every bit of me felt completed. Everything I am from this moment is only about her. We eventually fell asleep in each other's arms. I woke up and put the covers over us and wrapped my arms around her. I whispered in her ear, "I will always take care of you. Always."